here. Oh, it's so uncomfortable. All right. Gotta make sure you're on. Everything's all good. Everything's all good. Gotta make sure this is all good. Nah, screw it. I always gotta have this on. I'm not gonna be uncomfortable here. But I might back you up a little. There we go. A few more things to do. Where are you? Where are you? Where are you? There we go. Let me see here. No, I'm taking off all of this. I'll keep that. I'll do this. All right. What? Oh God, I messed up. Completely forgot about that. All right, have that be set up. Do this, do this, do this. Oi. Okay, yep. What's going on? Give me a second, guys, while I get myself set up here. Do this. There we go. Just a few more things, and we can get this started. Okay. And last but not least, oh no, there we go. Alrighty, alrighty, we should be good to go. Okay. All right, everything should be okay. Let's get into it. Man, I love being so close, but I got my camera like this on purpose. All right. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, what's going on, everybody? Hope you guys are enjoying your day. This is the Week 17 State of the AFC North Address. Week 17 kicked off with, obviously, the Christmas games. And we're not done yet. We still got a bunch of games happening. We got Thursday Night Football playing right now. I'm pretty sure the game's coming down to the wire. Funny enough, that game means nothing. The Seahawks don't need to win this game to increase their playoff hopes. It comes down to the division for them. It basically comes down to the division. At the end of the day, the Seahawks can win this game. It don't change anything. They can lose this game. Again, it don't change anything. It comes down to this. The Seahawks need the Rams to lose to the Cardinals so that Week 18 can be for the division. It's as simple as that. The Seahawks need the Rams to lose to the Cardinals so that Week 18 can be for the division. Simple as that. That's it. That's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. So if the Rams beat the Cardinals, they win the division, and Seattle at this point is basically going to miss the playoffs. So that pretty much comes down to that. Though I will say this, I believe if Seattle loses this game, Washington clinches a playoff spot no matter what. So right now, Chicago is marching. there's 2 minutes left and they're at their own 49-yard line. If they get into field goal range, they can kick a field goal to tie the game. If Caleb Williams is able to lead a touchdown drive, that'll be the end of it there, and they'd get the dub. So we'll see what happens here. But 2 minutes left to go. Chicago second and 15 at their own 44. Let's see if Caleb can come up with some magic. Seattle wins. They're just going to have to wait and see what happens. But that is not what we are here to talk about. We are here to talk about the good old AFC North. And, of course, with the AFC North, a lot of things have been constantly changing. We talk about each team in terms of how things are going for them, whether they're eliminated or not. So the way we're going to start this off for the most part has to be taking care of business. So, like I said in our Week 15 edition, we had some AFC North rivalry games that were happening for the most part. Now, I will say this, we're probably going to have to do, it's going to be tough to do this because I feel like we have to. Actually, no, I think we can address everything here. I don't think I need to make another one. We could probably wait till the end of the season to make the next State of the AFC North. Because of everything that's really changed around, it's perfect to do this now. So, yeah, we had our games that were played last week and our games that were played yesterday. So, last week, as I said, we had the Bengals and Browns going up against each other. Obviously, Cleveland's eliminated. They're going to be a top 5, maybe top 5 or at least top 10 draft pick. They're going to look to see what they're doing next. The season doesn't matter to them anymore. It's over. But for Cincinnati, they're still fighting. They're still alive. They still have a chance to go and potentially make the playoffs. They just need a lot of help. So Cleveland and Cincinnati went up against each other. Obviously, since he needed to win that game to stay alive in the playoff race, any loss at this point would officially eliminate the Bengals from playoff contention. And they needed to win. They were at home against Cleveland. DTR got the start. And I'm going to keep it a bean. DTR, man, I don't see it. Maybe he would need to develop. Maybe he needs more time to continue to develop. And maybe he could be a serviceable quarterback. But this guy is not an NFL quarterback. I don't see anything from DTR that makes me sit back and believe, yeah, he could be successful in this league. I'm willing to say if he gets a good coaching staff that's willing to work with him and he continues to work and develop his game, he might be something serviceable, maybe even better than that. But I'm not seeing anything from DTR that makes me think he's going to be at least a decent NFL quarterback. And I know he's not in the plans for the Browns moving forward. Maybe as a backup, as a project backup, but that's not the guy for the Browns. That's not the guy for their future. So I don't know what to tell you. DTR went out there and played a terrible game against Cincinnati. Meanwhile, Joe Burrow had a masterclass performance when he needed to. Joe Burrow has been great all season long performance-wise. And again, if his team was in the playoffs with a winning record, Joe Burrow arguably could be the MVP because his numbers are comparable to Lamar's. Unfortunately, they're still fighting for a playoff spot. This game actually was a lot closer than you think it was. There were opportunities there for Cleveland to try and go do things. But when your quarterback's playing so poorly, there's nothing you could have done. And it was just, DTR was doing nothing for you. So offensively, they couldn't get anything going. Defensively, they started to make some stops in the second half. When it became 17-6, the opportunity was there for them to potentially go down the field, get a touchdown, get a 2-point conversion, make it a 3-point game. But they never got anything going with DTR. It's just the offense looked horrible. The offense looked horrible. You knew things were going to completely collapse once the fumble happened. Because Jerome Ford just takes it 66 yards to the goal line. They get down there, and then they fumble at the 1. How did the Bengals respond? They go 99 yards for a touchdown. And we all knew the game was over after that. So Cleveland, they're getting ready for the lottery. Cincinnati wins. They keep their season alive. And now, on Sunday, in a few days, they're going to be playing the biggest game of their season. This is a must-win game. All of these are must-win games, but this one specifically, they must win. It's also a must-win for Denver because they have not clinched a playoff spot. 5 teams have clinched a playoff spot in the AFC. Kansas City, Buffalo, Baltimore, Houston, Pittsburgh. The Chargers need to beat the Patriots on Sunday to clinch a playoff spot, or Saturday, whenever they play. And the Broncos have to beat the Bengals this week to clinch a playoff spot. So Cincinnati is still in the mix. Cincinnati's still in the mix. But this is the biggest game here. Not to mention, they still need a loss from the Dolphins and the Colts, who are still technically in the mix. It looks like the Colts might actually be out of it due to the loss against the Broncos, but the Dolphins are still in the mix for the playoffs. So any losses from either one of those two teams, actually from both of those teams, if the Colts suffer a loss, if the Dolphins suffer a loss, then all Cincinnati will need is for them to beat Denver head-to-head this week, beat Pittsburgh next week, and hope Kansas City's reserves can beat the Broncos. If all that happens, Cincinnati punches their ticket into the postseason. So they're not out of it yet. They're still alive in this matchup. So Cincy, they still have life. And as long as you have life, there's always a chance. And I'm telling you right now, if Cincinnati sneaks into the playoffs, everything goes haywire because they will be the 7th seed, which means they can go to Buffalo for the first round. And I will tell you this, Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins against that Buffalo defense is a nightmare. That Bengals team has the capability to go into Buffalo and win. And if they win, guess what their second round matchup will be? In Arrowhead against Kansas City. They have the tools capable of going into Kansas City and winning. They nearly beat the Chiefs in week 2. If it wasn't for a controversial pass interference call, they beat the Chiefs. So I'm telling you, Cincinnati sneaks into the playoffs, they could potentially beat the Bills, they could potentially beat the Chiefs. Doesn't mean they're going to, but the potential is there because of the firepower that you have offensively. That three-headed monster with Joe Burrow, with Jamar Chase, with T. Higgins. That's dangerous. Denver doesn't scare anybody, but Cincinnati scares a lot. And they have the capability of pulling off a first-round upset if they can get to Buffalo in round 1. So Cincinnati is still alive. They're still fighting, so we continue to talk about them. We'll see what they do against the Denver Broncos in a must-win situation. They got to show up. They lose to Denver, it's all over. Denver takes that playoff spot, and Cincinnati's season is done. So we'll see what Cincy's made of, man. This is where you've got to show up. This is where you need Burrow to play the way he's playing. And again, if he gets into the playoffs, Burrow, MVP, I feel like he would have to be a high consideration given what they've had to go through all season. But, it is what it is at the end of the day. Now let's actually get into the two teams we need to talk about. So, the AFC North. We all knew it was going to come down to this. Let's start with the Saturday matchup, Week 16. Week 16. Pittsburgh comes down to Baltimore to take on the Ravens in the AFC North divisional crown matchup because this was for the division. Had Pittsburgh won this game, they win the AFC North. Had Baltimore win this game, they have an opportunity to take first place in the AFC North. That was what was on the line. A Pittsburgh win gets them the division. A Baltimore win ties them with Pittsburgh and gives them an opportunity to steal the division away from them. Speaking of which, just going to give this update. I'm looking at this right now. Let me see what just happened. 4th and 10 at the Seattle 40. Let me look at this. Final play of the game. Oh, okay. So, final play here. Caleb Williams on 4th and 10 at the Seattle 40 took a deep shot to Keenan Allen. He got picked off. Game over. Seattle gets the win. They go to 9-7. Again, this win is meaningless. They need it's meaningless for the division, but I guess they have an outside shot to potentially make the playoffs over the Commanders, though I don't think they have the matchup advantage in that aspect. But Seattle wins. They go to 9-7, and they await what happens with the Rams and Cardinals. If the Cardinals beat the Rams, Week 18 for the division. So I just have to give that quick update. Caleb Williams gets intercepted on 4th and 10. The Seahawks hold up. They win this nasty 6-3 game, and they go to 9-7 on the season. So they're still technically alive in the playoff race. Now they wait to see what happens with the Cardinals. Just needed to get that update. The Seattle Seahawks managed to get a win here, a nasty win, but a win is a win. You'll take it. And, let's get back to this. So, Pittsburgh at Baltimore for the division. Pittsburgh wins. They get the AFC North. Baltimore wins. They tie it up with them and have an opportunity to potentially steal this division away from them. That game on Saturday was a crazy one. And in some cases, it came down to the wire. In other cases, it ended up like the result we saw. So Baltimore, early on, opening drive, they actually go down the field, score a touchdown. So opening drive, Baltimore goes down the field. I'm sorry. Excuse me. Opening drive, Baltimore goes They're moving the ball down the field, but Lamar gets strip sacked because Ronnie Stanley isn't able to. He gets beat on a block. It's one of the few times Stanley's gotten beaten on the block all season. So he gets stripped, but Ronnie recovers it, and Baltimore's forced to punt on their opening drive. They punted away to the Steelers. Steelers on their opening drive picked up some first downs, or tried to pick up a first down and went 3 and out. Couldn't get anything there. It goes back to Baltimore. Baltimore would then go down the field and score a touchdown, taking an early 7-0 lead against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Pittsburgh, knowing that this is going to be a tough fight, they got to go respond. Russell Wilson leads them down the field, and they go score a touchdown. So it's 7-7 all. Baltimore gets the ball back. They're moving the ball, picking up some first downs, but they get stuffed on 3rd and 1. The Steelers defense stands tall, and they get to Derrick Henry on 3rd and 1, and they make a stop. Baltimore's forced to punt. Pittsburgh gets the ball back. They get really great field position, and Russell Wilson right now, he's leading the team down the field. The Steelers have a prime opportunity here to go up 14-7 against the Baltimore Ravens. Pittsburgh has a chance to take the lead here. They get to the goal. They're getting to the red zone. Russell Wilson on 2nd and 6. He rolls to his right. He's got a bunch of space to take off. He starts taking off. He's looking at the end zone, thinks he can hit his head on the pylon. He keeps going, and then boom. The play of the game, arguably, although it's not going to be the play of the game, but arguably the play of the game that set the tone for what was about to happen. Darius Washington puts up a big hit on Russell Wilson. He pops Russell Wilson. The ball gets fumbled. Baltimore recovers. They take over right there. The defense making a response and forcing a turnover leads to Baltimore going down the field on a 96-yard drive. They go all the way down the field. They score a touchdown. Lamar on 3rd and 8 hits Bateman at the back of the end zone for the touchdown. Ravens take a 14-7 lead. Pittsburgh gets the ball back, and once again, the Ravens defense stands tall. They make a stop, get the ball back to the Ravens, and the Ravens, they take it, they go down the field, they get a couple first downs, but they were unable to get into the end zone. They kick a field goal. Tucker had to kick a 51, or it was like a 51, 52-yard field goal. He makes it 17-7 game. Pittsburgh gets the ball back just before halftime. They go down the field. Boswell kicks a field goal, makes it 17-10. Coming out of halftime, Pittsburgh gets the ball. They do nothing with it. They punt. Baltimore gets the ball. They do nothing with it. They punt. Pittsburgh then takes the opportunity to go down the field, score a touchdown, and tie it up. Russell Wilson hits Cordell Patterson with a floating pass in the end zone over Malik Harrison. Touchdown Steelers. It's a 17-17 game. And just like that, everyone's looking around and saying, oh, the Steelers have tied it. The Steelers have tied it. Are the Ravens going to respond? Yes, they do respond. Lamar and the offense get on that field. They go down the field. Lamar hits Mark Andrews wide open in the middle of the field in the end zone. Touchdown Ravens. They go up 24-17. Pittsburgh gets the ball back after being down 24-17. They get into Baltimore territory, but they get stopped on 3rd down. And on a 4th and 6, Russell Wilson takes a shot on a moon ball. Nothing there. Nothing there. Kyle Hamilton on the play. Calvin Austin was streaking down the middle of the field. Kyle Hamilton read it perfectly. He ran, got there in time, nearly picked it off. Incomplete, turnover on downs. Baltimore gets the ball back. They hand it to King Henry. King Henry rumbles and tumbles down inside the 10. So it becomes 1st and goal for the Ravens. Very next play, Baltimore goes play action. Lamar looking for Bateman. Pressure coming. He expected Bateman to keep going forward. Bateman stopped. Lamar's pass flutters right there because he's expecting Bateman to keep crossing. Lamar throws it to where he thinks Bateman's going to be. Ain't no Bateman. I'll tell you who's there. Mika Fitzpatrick, who's having a great year, picks off Lamar Jackson. Lamar interception at the goal line. It gets picked off, and just like that, Pittsburgh has life. They were this close to going down 2 scores. Now they have life. They have a chance offensively to go down the field, score a touchdown, tie this game up, and make sure it comes down to the wire. 2 plays later, 2nd and 6, Russell Wilson rolls out on the play action. Next thing you know, David Ojabo's coming with pressure. Russell Wilson throws the ball. He throws it inside instead of outside where his receiver is. Marlon Humphrey read it perfectly. Picks off. Russell Wilson takes it to the house. Pick six. Ravens go up 2 scores. Now they're up 31-17. Pittsburgh's not able to recover there. Baltimore gets the ball back, continues to kill the clock. They kick a field goal, 34-17, and that pretty much is the game. That's all she wrote. So Baltimore gets a season-defining win to an extent because you couldn't beat Pittsburgh and you finally got over the hump and dominated them overall. So Baltimore gets the 34-17 victory. They tie they tie with the Steelers for first place in the AFC North, and Pittsburgh, they suffer another loss. A very, very brutal loss. But that's not the end of the story here, because if that was the end of the story, we wouldn't be here talking about Week 17 for the state of the AFC North. So Pittsburgh loses to Baltimore on Saturday. Pittsburgh then travels back home to take on the defending Super Bowl champion Chiefs. Meanwhile, Baltimore heads back home, rests, and then gets back on a plane and travel down to Houston to take on the Texans. The Steelers and Ravens did play on Christmas Day. Both of those were seen as primetime games. So, with Baltimore coming off of a defining win and Pittsburgh coming off a deflating loss, both teams understand what's on the line. If Pittsburgh loses this game, Baltimore takes sole possession of the AFC North. If Pittsburgh beats the Chiefs, they continue to keep on holding on to their lead for first place because they do have the tiebreaker. Baltimore may have tied it up, but Pittsburgh has a tiebreaker because they have a better conference record. Pittsburgh needed to beat Kansas City to keep on to that tiebreaker, or they needed Baltimore to lose to Houston for them to still keep that tiebreaker. So both teams knew what was on the line heading into that day. What ended up happening? Well, for the Steelers and Chiefs, nothing short of a nightmare for the Pittsburgh Steelers. They go out there and they get humiliated by the Kansas City Chiefs. They lose 29-10. You know, the funny thing about it is, this was the biggest win for the Chiefs all season. This was their biggest win. It was the most defining win. In terms of how people have been talking about them in the narrative. Talk about, they've been escaping a lot of these games. They haven't played great football. They haven't looked like a dominant team. They're the biggest 15-1, 10-1, 11-1, 12-1, 13-1, 14-1 frauds. Everyone calling them out for not playing great games, but still squeaking by a win. Well, they played a great game against the Steelers. They dominated the Pittsburgh Steelers. They dominated them. You knew Pittsburgh was in trouble when they went down 13-0 early on in their own building. Pittsburgh had opportunities to win this game, but they weren't unable to take advantage of it. They had opportunities. There were some controversial aspects, such as Hollywood Brown catching a pass that was ruled a catch, but when you look at it, it was a drop. There was no official replay. There was no challenge. Nothing of the sorts. Nothing of the sorts. So it was not a good look for the officials for not being able to call it out, but it didn't really affect the outcome. Pittsburgh got dominated. Their defense looked lost out there against Kansas City. A Kansas City offense that's been struggling. They looked lost against Kansas City, and Pittsburgh's offense couldn't even come close to competing. Can you believe this? Chris Jones did not play in that game, and the Chiefs had a season-high 5 sacks. How does that happen? One of the best defensive players in the game and one of the best defensive players of this current generation did not play, and his team had a career-high 5 sacks. Pittsburgh just came out there and they got whooped. They got whooped so bad. Travis Kelce, in this game, set a record, or at least broke a record. With this touchdown catch, he ended up getting his 1,000th career reception. He broke Tony Gonzalez's record that was holding. I think he broke both the touchdown record and the receptions record, or it was just a reception record. Either way, Tony Gonzalez's former record that was held up by him for a long time, Travis Kelce has officially broke it with that touchdown catch. So congratulations to Travis Kelce. 1,000 catches, man. That is insane. I mean, this guy's a first ballot Hall of Famer, one of the greatest tight ends, if not the greatest tight end to play. I think at the end of the day, people are going to look at his career and they're going to look at Rob Gronkowski and say, hey, you two go at it. Let's see who's the greatest tight end of all time. Yeah, congrats to Travis Kelce. Patrick Mahomes had his best game of the season. 29-38, 320 pass yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, QBR of 90, and a passer rating of 127. Mahomes getting hot at the right time. Finally, the Chiefs look like the dominating team we all expected to see. They played well, and again, it's not a surprise. I told people all season, the reason they look the way they look is because they're not healthy. Hollywood Brown did not play the entire season. Pacheco was out with injuries. Guys were just in and out of the lineup. Once they get healthy, the Chiefs will look like the most dangerous team in the National Football League. And look at that, they look like the most dangerous team in the National Football League. Justin Watson caught a touchdown. Xavier Worthy caught his 8th or 9th receiving touchdown. He's having a fantastic rookie season. Travis Kelce caught a touchdown. I mean, Hollywood Brown got involved. DeAndre Hopkins, they tried to get him involved for the most part, but the Chiefs' weapons are looking great. The Chiefs' weapons are looking great, and Kansas City is peaking at the right time. Also, people got to talk about Patrick Mahomes more for the MVP. He's not going to get it this year because his numbers don't scream it, and I understand that his numbers don't scream it, but Mahomes does deserve more MVP considerations, given the fact that his team is, 15-1? And it's not like he's had a terrible season. I think people overreacted to the fact that through 6 games, he wasn't playing his best football, but the team was winning. When he was at 6 touchdowns to 8 interceptions, everybody was killing him. He's got 6 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. This guy's playing like a bum. Well, guess what? Since he's had that 6 touchdown to 8 interception ratio, he's thrown 20 touchdowns to 3 interceptions. On the season, 3,928 passing yards. That's ranked 5th. 26 touchdown passes. That's tied for 6th. 11 interceptions, not great, but it is what it is. His QBR is ranked 5th. This year, his passer rating on the season is 93.5, which is one of his lowest of his career. So that's not looking great. But overall, Mahomes is playing well, completing 67% of his passes. Mahomes is still having a great year. And at this point in his career, Mahomes' numbers in the regular season don't matter. It doesn't. Because it's not going to affect how he's going to play in the playoffs. Mahomes is the same guy in the regular season. He'll be the same guy in the playoffs. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, the Chiefs play at a different level. When you're a dynasty, you're not worried about the regular season. Their focus is to do 2 things. Win games, stay healthy. They're going to enter the playoffs healthy. The Chiefs run the AFC. The playoffs go through Kansas City. Everything they wanted to accomplish to set themselves up for a 3-peat and put themselves into history, they've set it up. The playoffs go through Arrowhead. They've secured the number 1 seed so they can rest their starters in Week 18. And they're going to enter the playoffs completely healthy. So good luck beating that team. Everybody knows the Chiefs are going to 3-peat. We're just trying to have fun with it. I hope my team can go into Arrowhead, get revenge, and beat them. That would be one hell of a story. But most of us know the Chiefs are going to 3-peat. We're just going to see how this goes. If Lamar Jackson can go into Arrowhead and beat them, that's a legacy-defining moment. If Josh Allen can go into Arrowhead and beat them for an AFC title game, that's a legacy-defining moment. If anyone else in the playoffs can do it, hell, Justin Herbert can create somebody that is seen as a top 5 quarterback who has no accolades could end up going on a playoff run, get to Arrowhead, beat Mahomes and get to the Super Bowl, and the entire narrative around Justin Herbert, who is just talented with numbers, everything changes about him because he has yet to win a playoff game. Anybody that can beat this Chiefs team will have a legacy-defining moment. But most of us know the Chiefs are going to 3-peat. We're just seeing how it's going to go, and many of us are hoping that we don't live in that reality. But most of us know the Chiefs are going to 3-peat. That's just how it is. We're just hoping there's a team that can come and knock them out. As a Ravens fan, I hope it's the Ravens, and I hope it's going to come down to these two getting it done in Arrowhead, because I believe this dynamic duo has the capability of beating Kansas City. Okay, I want to call these two right here a specific dynamic duo, but you got to win a championship in order to do it. The way they're playing is similar in terms of what I'm trying to say, but it's hard to give them that title of that duo until they win. You can't give them that title. Because that duo that I'm talking about, that many of us have been making those comparisons with how both these guys have been dominant this year, you got to win a championship to solidify that. And we're going to see if these two can get it done in the postseason. Because it's coming down to them. These two got to get it done in the postseason together. It can't be low. Let's just sit back and rely on Derrick Henry, but not use Lamar. Or, let's just put everything on Lamar and have Derrick Henry stand on the sideline with the game on the line. No. Both of these guys need to be utilized if the Ravens are going to beat the Chiefs. But before you even think about the Ravens beating the Chiefs, they got to secure the division. They got to make sure they win the AFC North. Then it's that focus to that first-round playoff game, whether it's the Chargers, whether it's the Steelers, whether it's the Broncos, whoever. Whoever comes to M&T Bank Stadium for the wild card matchup, if you win the division, you got to be prepared. And then after that, you already know it's going to be a round 2 war. It's going to be a grudge match against Josh Allen and the Bills to see who gets to go to the AFC title game. But we're looking way too far ahead. We haven't even won the division yet. I'm just pointing this out. But yeah, Kansas City has done everything they needed to do this year. They are the Kings. This is their league. They are the dynasty. You've got to get to them. You've got to get to them. You got to beat them. And then you can go on to win the Super Bowl and secure your place in NFL history. So the AFC goes through them. Good luck, fellas. Good luck, fellas. The AFC goes through them. Good luck, fellas. Good luck. Playoff time, you got 4 people you got to focus on. Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Chris Jones. Good luck beating those 4. Good luck beating those 4. But yeah, for Pittsburgh, I mean, this is such a collapse, man. This is such a horrible situation, man. This is such a horrible situation if you're a Steelers fan. They had the worst possible Christmas outcome. The worst part about it is this was a 12 days of Christmas type situation. This was a 12 days of Christmas type of situation. In the span of 12 days, everything is collapsed for them. Think about it. 12 days ago, Pittsburgh was 10-3. They had a 2-game lead over the Baltimore Ravens. They were the number 3 seed. The media was turning around on them, saying this Steelers team can be dangerous. They could go to Kansas City with that defense. They could go to Kansas City and win. And Russell Wilson has playoff experience. He's been to 2 Super Bowls. He's won a championship. George Pickens is one of the best receivers in the game. They have the tools to win. Everybody was saying that about Pittsburgh. But they wanted Pittsburgh to finish this off by proving themselves. And we talked about this. Pittsburgh's schedule in the first half of the season was easy. It was light. They didn't have a tough schedule. It was so light. Justin Fields gave them a 4-2 record. They had a winning record, 4-2 with Justin Fields. Their offense couldn't even score 30 points with Justin Fields, and they were 4-2. Russell comes in, oh man, we are 6-1 with Russell Wilson. The offense is finally scoring 30+ points now. Oh man, this team, this squad can get it done. They're the 3rd best team in the AFC. All they got to do is prove it. You got Philly, you got Baltimore, you got Kansas City. They're going to come out of this with a 2-1 at the very worst. That was what Steelers fans were thinking. 12 days ago, they were leading the AFC North. They were 10-3, the 3 seed. They were actually competing with the Bills for the 2 seed. 12 days later, 0-3. Or I probably should do it for you guys like 0-3 like this. However, yeah. 12 days later, 0-3, 10-6, lost control of the division, may have to go on the road for the wild card spot. And everybody completely changing their narrative around about the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's gotta hurt. That's gotta hurt. That is gotta hurt. I'm not gonna lie, that's gotta hurt if you're a Steelers fan. And what makes it worse for the Steelers is these aren't simple losses. They lost by double digits. Let me pull it up here right now. As I'm looking on my screen, the Pittsburgh Steelers, in 3 games, these last 3 games, they lost to Philadelphia, 27-13, so they lost by 14. They lost to the Baltimore Ravens, 24-13, so yeah, they lost by 14. And then against the Ravens, they lost 34-17. They lost by 17 points. And then they got worse. Against the Chiefs, they lost 29-10, so they lost by 19 points. You went from losing by 14 to losing by 17 to losing by 19. All in the span of 12 days. They got bullied. They got flat out beat. They got embarrassed. 2 of these games were on national television. Anybody that thought the Steelers were legit, anybody that thought the Steelers were one of the best teams in the AFC, anybody that thought the Steelers could truly go and potentially compete with the Buffalo Bills and the Kansas City Chiefs, all of that is dead. Because in the span of 3 weeks, when they finally got to the tough part of their schedule, they have completely folded. And they don't even look like they belong on the same field with the guys they lost to. To make matters worse, Week 18, they're going up against a red-hot Cincinnati team that is fighting for their playoff lives. So that defense that got smoked by Kansas City, that defense that got smoked by the Ravens, that defense that got smoked by Philadelphia, next week, they got to deal with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. With Joe Burrow literally on a heater. Literally on a heater. Yeah, Pittsburgh's in trouble. Pittsburgh's in trouble. The worst case scenario for Pittsburgh could very well happen. Because if they lose, there's a chance they drop from the 5th seed all the way to the 7th seed. You see, the Chargers could potentially get that 5th seed because right now the Steelers are 10-6. Chargers could potentially get that 5th seed, and that drops them to the 6th seed, which takes them back to Baltimore, which they probably would like that as a divisional rival. They feel like they match up well against them. If they just clean up some of the messes, they could do it. But again, Baltimore just needed to get over the hump and showcase that they can beat the Steelers. If Baltimore and Pittsburgh meet up in Baltimore, I have a huge belief the Ravens can win that matchup with the way the Steelers are playing right now. So if they go to Baltimore, that could be very troubling for them. But they'll take that because it's a divisional rival. If they get the 5th seed with Houston, they would love to get that because the Houston Texans are reeling more than Steelers. The Houston Texans are the worst team in the playoffs right now. They're easy pickings for any team right now. But the worst possible nightmare for the Steelers is that they lose next week against the Bengals and fall from the 5th seed to the 7th seed, meaning they got to go travel to Buffalo to take on Josh Allen and the Bills. If they drop to the 7th seed and got to go to Buffalo, it's over. You can give them a chance against Baltimore because that's a divisional rival. You can give them a chance against Houston because Houston's reeling more than them. Anybody can honestly win that Steelers-Texans game. And with the Ravens and Steelers, the Steelers have been able to play Baltimore well. Even though Baltimore's got over the hump, Pittsburgh could potentially do damage in the playoff game against the Ravens. But if those guys got to travel to Buffalo, they're done. They got no chance of seeing the second round. They're going to get cooked in Buffalo. They lost last year in Buffalo. They had no response for Josh Allen. He'll just do the same thing he did last year, and they'll get cooked. So Pittsburgh's in serious trouble. I would recommend them to win next week against Cincinnati, take that 5th seed, and try to see if you can go get a first-round playoff win against Houston. But you fall to the 7th seed, it's a wrap. It's a wrap. It's a wrap, man. It's a wrap. It is a wrap for the Steelers if they lose next week, man. They may end up as the 7th seed, and that'll be the worst-case scenario. So, that's pretty much what happened with the Pittsburgh Steelers early on Christmas Day yesterday. But we still had another game that needed to be played, and that was, of course, the Baltimore Ravens taking on the Houston Texans. So, the Steelers, they get dominated by the Chiefs. Steelers get dominated by the Chiefs. They get smoked by Kansas City and officially lose control of the division. Baltimore now has the opportunity to go out there and beat up on a Texans team that really needed a win. Baltimore wins against the Texans, the AFC North advantage goes to them. And that is where things can get very interesting. So, what ends up happening with Baltimore? Man. The Baltimore Ravens went into Houston knowing what was on the line. Baltimore needed to win in order to take sole possession of the AFC North, first place. Houston already won their division. They've already secured a playoff spot, but the Texans are reeling right now. Houston is reeling, and they needed a win. They needed a win to feel good about themselves. They needed a win to get back on track. You lose a really tough, heartbreaking game against Kansas City where you lost Tank Dell for the season on a devastating injury. Prayers up to him. Hopefully he has a speedy recovery. But you lose Tank Dell for the season, and then you lose a heartbreaker against Kansas City. You needed a game to get back on track. Just that defining game. Because Houston so far this season, they haven't had a lot of defining games. Their best victory is against the Bills. Their best victory, so again, you can give them credit for that. Their best victory on the season is against the Bills, but they didn't look like world beaters in that game. They didn't. Their best victory this season has been against the Bills, but they didn't look like world beaters. And for much of the season, they've had their struggles. They've looked good at times. They looked bad at times. CJ Stroud's having a really, really poor season. in comparisons to what people expected him to have. Overall, he's just having a sophomore slump. He's still having a good season, not a great season. Or maybe a solid season, but not a good season or great season. But in terms of what people expected to see from him, he is having somewhat of a poor season. And people are taking a look at his numbers, and people have been making the trolls what his numbers look like ever since he tried to big brother Caleb. So, yeah, it hasn't been good for CJ Stroud. So this was a situation where they needed to win against a red-hot Ravens team to go out there and make a statement that, hey, we can still do this. Things ain't looking great for us, but we can take some momentum to the playoffs and showcase we've got a shot to at least go pull off an upset or something. So, with both teams knowing what they were playing for, it was time to see what happened. There's nothing to say. I would love to sit back and act like there was a fight. There was no fight. There was little to no resistance. Baltimore dominated this team from start to finish. Baltimore set the tone on the opening drive when they went down the field. Derrick Henry, they couldn't stop him. But then again, the Texans have a history of not stopping Derrick Henry when he was in Tennessee. So I think Texans fans really looked at Derrick Henry going off and were like, yeah, that's kind of what he's always done. Like, legitimately. I don't think a single Texans fan was surprised to see Derrick Henry going off. He was doing that when he was in Tennessee. Have you looked at his numbers against the Texans? He usually balls out against them. So Tennessee expected that. But they were at least hopeful offensively they were going to do something, man. So early on in the game, Baltimore goes out, opening drive, scores a touchdown, makes it 7-0. Texans get the ball, try to pick up a couple first downs. They don't really do much with it. They got to punt it. Baltimore gets the ball back, goes down the field, scores a field goal. And for a little while, we were stuck at 10-2. And Houston had the opportunity. They ended up getting the ball in a situation where they could have gone down the field and scored a touchdown. They had a chance to either kick a field goal, make it 10-5, or score a touchdown. But the Ravens defense set the tone. Houston got to the goal line. I believe it's the only time in this game they got to the goal line. They got to the goal line. First and goal, got stopped. Second and goal, got stopped. Third and goal, got stopped. Usually would sit back and say just take the field goal, accept the points, and kick the ball. But Baltimore was already playing so physical and aggressively that the Texans knew to pull off an upset against this type of team, you got to go for it on fourth and goal. They went for it on fourth and goal. CJ Stroud tossed it to Joe Mixon. Marlon Humphrey tried to make the tackle. He missed. Ardarius Washington came in and made the play right there. Boom! Gets the hit on Joe Mixon. Nearly caused him to fall out of bounds. He's pretty much fallen out of bounds. And then Tre'Davious White gets to do the easy job and just push him out of bounds. Fourth down stopped by the Ravens. The Ravens go out there and make a stop turnover on downs. They stop him at the 1. How does Baltimore respond? They go 99 yards and go score a touchdown. 17-2. They head into halftime at that point like that. Once Baltimore went on that 99-yard touchdown drive in which one of those plays was Lamar Jackson making magic happen, dodging defenders, escaping the pocket, and throwing a beautiful pass, floating pass to Mark Andrews that nearly took it to the house. And then Lamar has the highlight play where he's just freezing defenders for 5 seconds while he buys time and then throws a fadeaway touchdown pass to Isaiah Likely. Lamar Jackson was awesome in this game. Derrick Henry was awesome in this game. I don't think we need to speak much about the Ravens in that aspect. They were sensational in this game. But yeah, once it became 17-2, it was over. Houston would get the ball coming out of halftime, and they would do a whole bunch of nothing with it. It also didn't help that CJ Stroud was probably playing one of his worst games of the season. I mean, I've been watching CJ this year, and he hasn't looked great, but it hasn't always been his fault. You have to understand, one, the offensive coordinator has not been great this season. The offensive play calling has been very poor for the Texans, and many Texans fans have talked about this. The offensive play calling has been poor, and it has set up CJ to be Superman. The way the play calling has been, it has put CJ in a position where he has to make plays out of nothing, and he has not made it easy for CJ. There's no easy throws in this offense, so the play calling has been poor. That is an aspect that needs to be specified. The offensive line hasn't been great this year. That's led to him being sacked a bunch. The receiving core has been injured. They came into this season with a 3-headed monster. Stephon Diggs, Tank Dell, Nico Collins. That was what was supposed to help this offense become explosive. You lose Nico Collins for like half a season. You lose Stephon Diggs to a season-ending injury. Nico Collins comes back, and then you have him and Tank Dell. And then Tank Dell goes out with a season-ending injury. You've got one of the three now. So what can you do? Dalton Schultz is awesome. He's nice. It's not enough. Joe Mixon has had a great season. It's not enough. So the injuries are starting to pile up for the Texans. And once you get these level of injuries, you can't overcome it. It's too much. It's way too much. So the offensive line hasn't been great. The receiving core is injured. The play calling has been awful. They need to fire that offensive coordinator. He's not returning. He's been awful. And Texans fans have talked about all season. He's got to go. So those three elements have played into it. But there is the fourth element that needs to be specified. C.J. Stroud just hasn't played well. When C.J. Stroud has had opportunities with open receivers, he's missed them. When C.J. Stroud has had a clean pocket, he's missed throws. I watched him in that game yesterday miss 4 straight throws. I mean, he had Dalton Schultz open, missed him. He had Joe Mixon open, missed him. He was just missing throw after throw after throw. Throw is low. Throw is behind the receiver. Throws too far ahead. He was just missing throws. He tried to force a throw. He rolled to his right, tried to force a throw. He got picked off by Kyle Hamilton, which was funny because Ravens fans were trolling C.J. Stroud because he was on this podcast during the offseason. And it was him and Micah making like an all-time list for offense versus defense or something like that. And Kyle Hamilton was who Michael Parsons picked, I think. And then CJ was like, I mean, I got Travis Kelce, and you got no offense to him. He's my guy. But Kyle Hamilton? Did you see what happened in the playoffs? Yeah, Ravens fans took offense to that. So they brought that up. And it's funny that he talked about Kyle Hamilton because Kyle Hamilton picked him off. So I don't know what he's talking about there. But yeah, CJ was just missing throws. CJ was missing throws. And he's got to make those throws. CJ was not missing those throws last year. This year he's missing those throws. And I'm going to keep it a bean. I'm going to keep it real, man. Texans fans, y'all know the way CJ has played is unacceptable. Y'all know CJ, the way he handled the offseason. I have never been one to care about what players do in the offseason and how they go about their offseason. I don't care. Do whatever you want. But when you're seen as a star or a future star and you have to come back and build on that momentum, you better ball out. You're free to do whatever you want, but you better ball out. CJ spent the offseason traveling all over different areas with Micah Parsons, doing his podcast, doing his show, him and Micah Parsons going back and forth, him going on all these other interviews, him going around different cities. Him and Micah Parsons were going around the world and having episodes about it. Man spent his offseason pretty much sitting back and saying, hey, Offensive Rookie of the Year, or Offensive Rookie of the Year type. Did he win Offensive Rookie of the Year? I'm pretty sure CJ won Offensive Rookie of the Year. Did he win Offensive Rookie of the Year? Because that adds to what may have come up with CJ this year. I'm going to check this out. Yeah, he won Offensive Rookie of the Year. I was just trying to check that. So, yeah. Hey, CJ Stroud, Rookie of the Year. I won Rookie of the Year. I was a Pro Bowler my first year. I took this Texans team that was the second worst team in the National Football League. They had the number 2 seed. I got drafted, came in, took them to the playoffs, won the division my first year, had a great rookie year. CJ might have been feeling himself. I'm not going to speak for the man, but he might have been feeling himself. We saw a young star be born, and he might have been feeling himself. The way he handled the offseason, it just seemed like, hey, I'm here, I'm established myself, I'm going to do my thing no matter what. So you know what? I'm going to go hang out with Micah Parsons. I'm going to go travel the world with Micah Parsons. Let's go wrestle sumo wrestlers. Let's go ride bikes in London or wherever they were doing. Let's just go out there and have fun. And I got no problem with that. I don't care about athletes' personal lives. You're free to do whatever. Okay? It's your life. You're free to do whatever. It doesn't matter. Go have fun. It's the off season. Do whatever you want. But you do understand that you got a job to do when the season's happening. When the off season's here, do whatever you want. But when the season's here, you've got to ball out. Everyone expected CJ to take that next step in year 2. So for us to be seeing how poor he's played when he's had the opportunities, i.e. the pocket's been clean or receivers are open and he's just missing those throws, that's an indictment on him. People are not going to sit back and remember all offseason. We were seeing all the videos. All offseason, CJ Stroud was everywhere. Were you putting in work to improve your game? Were you out there practicing? Were you gaining the chemistry with your guys? Were you studying film? What were you doing to improve yourself in the offseason? We saw you out there with Micah Parsons. What were you doing to improve yourself? Those are the questions people are asking now because of how poorly he played. People had him in the MVP conversation coming into this year. I came into this saying I wanted to promote C.J. Stroud for MVP this year because I was like, they're not going to give it to Lamar. It's going to be voter fatigue, and maybe Josh is going to be the conversation. But I think if C.J. Stroud could be one of those guys. Like those guys that's going to come back and ball out. Like he's truly one of those true ballers that's going to do it. So I was trying to promote him for MVP, but the way he's played this year, it's unacceptable. It's unacceptable. What his season right now, in terms of how he produced, is no different than what we saw from Trevor Lawrence like last year or in 2022. Just take a look at CJ's numbers. I'm going to pull up CJ Stroud's numbers right now. CJ Stroud on the season. CJ Stroud on the season. 3,677 yards, 19 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, a QBR of 49, and a passer rating of 86. He's completing 63% of his passes as a passer rating of 86, a QBR of 49, 19 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. He's on verge to actually throw. Well, there's one more game left for this out there, so he may throw 13 interceptions. Who knows? When you compare this year to what you saw last year, the only thing that improved was completion percentage. Because actually, no, let me see. When you compare this year to last year, it's night and day. CJ in his rookie year completed 64% of his passes, threw for 4,100 yards, 23 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, passer rating of nearly 101, and a QBR of 58. He's regressed all around with his numbers. He doesn't even look like the same guy. He doesn't look like the same guy. So people are asking these questions. Were you working on your game in the offseason? Because we saw you everywhere. We saw you on all these YouTube videos. You and Micah Parsons traveling. You and Micah Parsons doing these all-time lists. You and Micah Parsons sitting down with other people and talking about what this guy can do and what this guy can do. We saw. Were you working on your game? Were you improving? What have you improved in your game? Where is that next step that you were supposed to take in year 2? Where's the guy that people were putting in top 5 quarterback conversations? We didn't see him this year. These are the questions people are going to ask. And again, me personally, I don't care what you do in your personal life. I enjoyed watching those videos. I saw Micah Parsons and C.J. Stroud and say, hey, these guys have great chemistry. They work off of each other really well. I honestly think if they wanted to get into the media, you could see a Shaq and Chuck thing, because when Micah and CJ get to arguing, it's hilarious stuff. When they go back and forth, it's hilarious stuff. I would think moving forward, especially if they want to get into media after their careers, CJ Stroud and Micah Parsons can do a show together and everybody will watch. They're entertaining guys, and they work off of each other really well. I like what I've seen from both of them in terms of the content they create. So I enjoyed it. I enjoyed watching them go up against sumo wrestlers. I enjoyed them riding bikes in London or wherever they were. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the videos that were coming out. I enjoyed the debates they had. I enjoyed the list they were creating. So it's not like I don't like what CJ was doing. I enjoyed it. But you got to understand that you're free to do that, but you also got to show the results on the field. And when you don't, people will take the things you did in the offseason and use it to criticize you. That's just how this league works. And also, I hope this is an example to people to understand that you do not just crown a quarterback off of 1 year. His rookie year, and all of a sudden he was a top 5 quarterback. I told everybody, cannot put him or Jordan Love in the top 5 conversations until you show us multiple years of you playing at a high level. We need to see it. It can't just be like, oh, he just did it here. Now he's on that level. We can automatically give him elite status, automatically give him top 5 status. That's not how that works. That is not how that works, man. You need to have a body of work. You need to show us multiple years of you doing what you're doing. We need multiple years of it, man. We need multiple years of it. We need multiple years of it. So people tried to crown CJ Stroud, and it didn't work out. That's why I say the Big Four is the Big Four, because we've seen multiple years of high-level football from these guys. The Big Four is the Big Four. Mahomes, Lamar, Allen, Burrow, multiple years of high-level play from those guys. We've seen it. You have to earn that status. Justin Herbert is consistently seen as the number 5. You've consistently seen Justin Herbert as a top 5 quarterback because he's consistently put up those top-tier numbers. You have to earn it. It has to be multiple years of playing at a high level. You can't crown it. Now, I hope we see it moving forward for CJ. He comes back, bounce back, has a great year 3, and we all of a sudden we sit back and say, all right, he had a stumble, sophomore slump, but he comes back year 3, balls out, takes them back to the playoffs, and maybe wins a playoff game. Or who knows, maybe they win a playoff game this year. I mean, you're going up against the Steelers, or you might end up with the Chargers, the Broncos, whoever gets that 5th seed. Maybe they could pull off the upset, get to Kansas City for the second round. Who knows? But yeah, CJ, it just hasn't been a great thing. That's why I always say proceed with caution. You can love a guy, you can love what he's doing, but you got to understand. You've got to understand that you need to have multiple years of a body of work in order to prove yourself, to put yourself on that elite status, to put yourself at that top 5 quarterback status. So I hope people understand that. And again, I'll be fair and I'll be unbiased. I'll give you the olive branch. Because my guy right now, that I got a lot of love for, I watch him play every Sunday when they're in that stadium. And I've been saying offensive rookie of the year, straight up. Probably should put him in the MVP conversation. My man Jaden Daniels. I'm not putting him as a top 5 quarterback, and I'm not going to give him the elite status because of what he's doing in this rookie year. Come back and do what you're doing the next year. It's not fair. I've always been consistent with this. Now, I'm going to be honest. Jaden Daniels built different. You ain't going to be seeing Jaden Daniels out here in the offseason not putting in the work. I promise you, any issues you may have with Jaden Daniels' game this year, you ain't going to have those issues next year. With the way that guy is, he's going to come back year 2 and establish himself. So next year, he's going to ball out. And next year, he's going to establish himself as one of the elite of the elites. He's going to be one of the top tier young quarterbacks in the game. But I cannot crown Jaden Daniels as an elite quarterback, nor can I crown him as a top 5 quarterback because he's having a fantastic rookie year. You cannot do that. You cannot do that. You can love the guy and be as biased as you want. You cannot do that. I cannot base it. Because if we come back and all of a sudden year 2 and Jaden Daniels is struggling and he ain't got those numbers, now people are going to start taking shots. And I'm not interested in doing it. I'm always consistent with this. You've got to go and work on your game. Because, again, I said this with C.J. Stroud at the end of the year. Team has film on you now. Teams have film on you. Teams have film on you. It's very different. It's very different between your rookie year, where teams don't have film on you and don't know how you're going to play, and then your sophomore year, where they have all the film on you. They have all the film on you. And now they know what to do. They know what you like to do, what you don't like to do, your strengths and your weaknesses, how you like to throw, how you like to not throw, how you like to throw in certain situations, what you don't like to throw. Do you want to be a guy that throws the intermediate throws, the short throws, the deep throws? Do you throw more inside or outside? Do you throw towards one side more than the other? They look at those tendencies. They watch film. They understand who you are as a quarterback at that time. So they come back year 2 and they adjust to that. And a lot of quarterbacks take those shots. Now, again, you're not expected to, be able to ball out back-to-back elite seasons. There will be some regression, but you still have to play at a high level. We saw it with Mahomes and Lamar. Mahomes, 50 touchdowns. MVP year in 2018. 2019, he threw like 25 touchdowns, 25, 26 touchdowns. He didn't have a lot of touchdowns. In comparison to his MVP season, it was a regressed year. But Mahomes still had a great year, balled out, won the Super Bowl. Actually, no, that was the following year. That's what. So he still balled out and got to the Super Bowl. Lamar Jackson, historical MVP season in 2019. Came back the following year, 26 touchdown passes, 9 interceptions. I think he had like 36 total touchdowns that year. 35 36 total touchdowns that year. Took his team to the playoffs. Like, he still had a great year. You've got to go back and show it. The numbers may regress, but you still got to play at a high level. And CJ, unfortunately, has not done that. So those guys did it. And again, it's very difficult to use those guys as examples because it's rare we get to see that happen. Joe Burrow's another example, man. Joe Burrow. After suffering the season-ending injury, 2021, he has a great year, takes the team to the Super Bowl. The following year, he has another great year. 2021, he has a great year, wins the division, takes his team to the Super Bowl. The next year, has another great year, wins the division, takes his team to the AFC title game. Back-to-back years. You have to show us multiple years of you doing this. That's how it works. So, CJ Stroud, again, what's happened has not been great for him, but I believe he's going to bounce back and he's going to be all right. And that's why I always say you got to take caution. You got to take caution with how you like to place these quarterbacks based on what you're seeing right now. Especially when some of y'all like to take shots and say these guys are better. I remember people sitting back and trying to say that CJ Stroud was better than Joe Burrow because Joe got hurt last year. He wasn't playing great football when he was on the field. And people also were saying, oh yeah, CJ Stroud's already passed Joe Burrow. How's that working out for you now? Joe Burrow's not going to the playoffs, yes, but Joe Burrow's having an all-time great season. And it's clear, if Joe Burrow had any sort of defense, his team would be in the playoffs right now, no question. They might be competing with Baltimore for the division right now. Low-key. They'd probably have 11 wins. You need to be cautious with how you do things. That's why the Big Four is the Big Four. They earned that title because of multiple years of playing at a high level. The reason why, no matter how much you try to throw this guy, throw that guy, the reason people keep giving the nod to Justin Herbert is because he's had multiple elite seasons where he's put up monster numbers. And this year, he's having a great season as well. Even if the numbers aren't the best of the best, he's still playing great football and looking like the Justin Herbert we expect him to see. We expected to see at times. So you've got to put it up in multiple seasons. So CJ, I hope you come back next year and you play better football. Obviously, finish this season off. You're in the playoffs. Go see what you can do in the tournament. But if you get eliminated, come back next year a better player. Continue to work on your game. Take that next step, and you'll be fine. And again, a word of caution for everybody here, including myself. As much as I love the guy, as much as I care for the guy, as much as I appreciate watching what he's doing, I do understand I do have to pander my expectations with Jaden Daniels. He's going to finish this off. And by the way, I hope the Commanders get the Eagles in the first round. I know we can pull off the upset in Philadelphia. But I'm not going to crown Jaden Daniels as a top 5 quarterback or as an elite quarterback based off of 1 year. The elite quarterbacks earn those titles by playing at a high level in multiple years, not just 1 year. Because the league will catch up. The league will catch up to what you're doing and adjust to it. Everything we're seeing with Jaden Daniels, the league is going to catch up to it and adjust to it. It's up to you as the young quarterback to work on your game, improve on your game, and come back a better player the next year and take that next step. Now, I believe Jaden Daniels is going to do that. I don't think you're going to see a sophomore slump with Jaden Daniels. That's just my personal opinion. But you have to understand that they're going to look for the tendencies that he does well, the tendencies that he doesn't do well, and they're going to attack him. So you need multiple years, man. You're going to need multiple years. You're going to need multiple years to prove it, for the most part. But, yeah, CJ Stroud, Houston, they take a loss here. I really talked a lot about Houston because there's what else is there to say about Baltimore? Guys, I want you to be very clear. I want you to be very clear. I want you guys to understand where I'm coming from because I'm going to be very clear with this. The Ravens haven't done anything that's necessarily surprised me. I'm glad to see they dominate them. The defense shut the Texans out. I didn't expect that to happen. But the Ravens dominating the Texans? The Ravens have dominated the Texans since Lamar's been here. I hope you realize this. 2019, he took on the Texans. Lamar dominated them. 2020, he took on the Texans. Lamar dominated them. I don't think we played him in 2021 or 2022. 2023, you dominated them in the first game. You dominated them in the division round last year. You dominated. Like, Lamar's 5-0 against the Texans. And the Ravens have always balled out. Whether it was Deshaun Watson at quarterback or CJ Stroud, they've dominated the Texans. This was to be expected. Not to mention, I got to see what they do against Cleveland next week. But if they win it, then guess what? My prediction was perfect. Except one game. 2 games that need to be switched. But my prediction would be perfect. I came into the year saying Baltimore would be 12-5 and win the AFC North. They're on the verge of being 12-5 and winning the AFC North. The 5 losses that I said could happen: Kansas City, Pittsburgh at Pittsburgh, Cleveland at Cleveland, Cincinnati, and Philadelphia. The only thing that's pissing me off is that 1 loss against the Raiders, which I thought could have been Cincinnati. So I was very close to being very perfect with my prediction this year. I was this close to being perfect with my prediction. But Baltimore going 12-5 and winning the division doesn't do anything for me. This is what we expect from them. You put Lamar and Derrick Henry together. We knew they would put up monster numbers. We knew they'd win the division. Did anyone actually believe they were going to miss the playoffs after going 0-2? I'm the one that sat here after the Raiders lost and say I have full confidence they're going to win the division and make the playoffs. Like, what? Like, legitimately, I sat here after we lost the Raiders. Ravens fans were spazzing out. They were showing pictures about previous years when the Ravens started 0-2 and missed the playoffs. I'm like, we're not those teams. Those teams collapsed and dealt with injuries. I'm like, we got Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, and all this other stuff. We're healthy. I sat back after week 2 and say, hey, look, we've got Dallas at Dallas, the Bills coming to our house, and then we got to go to Cincinnati. You start from there. Go 3-0, and then you go from there. Guess what? They went 3-0, went from there. When we started 0-2 and lost to the Raiders, I sat back and said, this team's still going to make the playoffs. They're still probably going to win the division. I wasn't surprised. Like, nothing changed this for me. Everyone was spazzing out, but I knew the Ravens were going to turn this around. You've got Lamar Jackson, one of the best quarterbacks in the league, a member of the Big Four, as your quarterback. He's not going to miss the playoffs. Name me a season when Lamar has been healthy the whole year and missed the playoffs. Even the 2 years where he missed it due to injury, he had a winning record and was leading the division when he got hurt. Lamar's not missing the playoffs on a healthy year. That's just not going to happen with him. If he's healthy, they're going to have a winning record and win and make it to the playoffs. That's just not going to happen with the Ravens. So nothing they've done this year is surprising me. Now, what they do in the postseason could either continue to match my expectations or they can surprise me. I think the one thing that will surprise me is if they can get to the Super Bowl. The one thing that will surprise me, get to the Super Bowl. At this point, I think in the wild card, I looked at the matchups. If Baltimore plays the style of football they're playing right now, they can win that first round matchup. They can win the grudge matchup against Buffalo in the second round. And they can travel to Arrowhead for the AFC title game. You want to surprise me, Baltimore? Beat the Chiefs in Arrowhead, stop on their three-peat dreams, and head to the Super Bowl. That'll be the first thing that will really surprise me this season. But everything they did in this game against the Texans wasn't surprising. Lamar playing at a high level, he's been playing at a high level all season. Derrick Henry being a monster, he's been a monster all season. I guess I give credit to the defense to pitch a shutout. I didn't expect that. I did not expect them to pitch a shutout, but they did. But the defense has been turning it around. Who knew? All you need, I mean, we've been saying it for weeks. Get rid of Eddie Jackson, bench Marcus Williams, you'll be fine. So them benching Marcus Williams, getting rid of Eddie Jackson, and moving Kyle Hamilton to free safety, all of a sudden fixed all the problems that we were talking about. So defense is playing better. They're playing their best football. They've showed it in the last 6 games. Baltimore defensively, they're first or second in every defensive category in the last 6 games. And in those games, they've played 5 playoff teams in those games. That matters. Defense is getting right at the right time. The last 2 games, 5 total penalties in 2 games. 5 total penalties. So they're limiting the penalties. They're playing better defensively. They're executing the formula of handing the ball to Derrick Henry, letting him run loose, and Lamar Jackson initiating the play-action passing game, and going from there. So Baltimore is playing the winning formula. Baltimore has been playing the winning formula. What we need to see from Baltimore, and this is what we haven't seen in the postseason yet, consistently play this winning formula. Baltimore brought Derrick Henry here for this reason. In the playoffs, and we'll talk about it after the Browns game, in the playoffs, there is no reason for Lamar Jackson to be throwing 40+. That is not the formula. That is not how we're going to win. If we need to play that way, we'll have no choice. We're fine with that with the way Lamar's been playing this year. And we've won shootouts where Lamar's had to throw 40+ times, and we won. Mostly against Cincinnati. But the formula is there. In the playoffs, 25+ carries. I think you get 25 carries for Derrick Henry, 25 to 30 passes for Lamar, but he had 25 carries for Derrick Henry, 20 to 25 passes for Lamar Jackson. That is the formula. You play great defense, you limit the penalties, you don't harm yourself, you don't turn the ball over in the postseason. Baltimore will be lifting the Lombardi Trophy up because the winning formula is there. If Derrick Henry's running 25 times, he's going to get 100+ yards. If Lamar Jackson's throwing 20 to 25 times with Derrick Henry rumbling and tumbling, he's going to have great numbers and they're going to have a great performance. If the defense can play the way they're playing, they can win it all. The formula for the Ravens to win is here. The formula is here. I say give Derrick Henry 25 carries. In a football game, you're probably going to have 45 to 65 plays depending on how a game goes. If it's a really low-scoring game or a game that's going fast because you got a team that's controlling the clock and running the ball a lot, which Kansas City loves to do. In a game against Kansas City, you're going to get like 45 plays. In a game against Buffalo, you're probably going to get around 50 to 60. Maybe 55 to 60. So let's just go with the aspect of Buffalo. Let's say you get 55 plays. 25 carries for Lamar. I'm sorry, 25 carries for Lamar, Jesus. If we have Lamar running 25 times a playoff game, we've lost everybody gets fired. But 25 carries for Derrick Henry, 20 to 25 passes for Lamar. The rest of it, you split those carries between Keaton Mitchell and Justice Hill. You get them involved too, because you're not always going to be able to work Derrick Henry as a workhorse. But Derrick Henry needs to have 25 carries in every playoff game we play. Because if he has 25 carries, I promise you, he will have 100-plus yards rushing and maybe a touchdown. Lamar throwing the ball 20 to 25 times will allow him to be dominant as well. And then the rest of it, you give carries to Justice Hill and you give carries to Keaton Mitchell when they have their spots. You make sure you don't overwork Derrick Henry. That's the formula to win offensively. Defensively is for them to continue what they're doing. They have fixed the communication issues. They've been more disciplined. Everybody's doing their job. If they do these things, Baltimore can go win the Super Bowl. Now, I do have concerns with the team. Still have a little bit of concerns with Brandon Stevens, but he has been playing better. I will give you this. I still have concerns with Brandon Stevens, but he has been playing better. Give credit to him. I still have concerns with the offensive line, though. And they did play well against Pittsburgh's front seven. So give credit there, too. I have some concerns with the offensive line. I have concerns with Brandon Stevens. And I have a bit of a concern with Todd Monken not continuing this formula. I'm afraid Todd Monken is going to move away from this formula. That's the biggest thing. I promise you, go look at the numbers. When we have run this formula of giving Derrick Henry the ball 25 times or 20-plus times, letting him rumbling tumbling, initiating the play-action game, and we play clean, Baltimore's undefeated. Go look at the numbers. This is the formula for the Ravens to win. Hand the ball to Derrick Henry, 25 carries for Derrick Henry, 20 to 25 pass attempts for Lamar Jackson, and then the rest you can give to Keaton Mitchell and Justice Hill. That is the formula for this offense to win and put up points in the playoffs. That's the formula. That is the perfect formula right there. I have this little fear in my heart and in my mind that Todd Monken is going to get back to his old habits, get a bit too pass hungry and say, you know what, let's have Lamar throw the ball 35, 40 times. I'm so afraid of that appearing in the playoffs. That's my biggest fear. So that's my three concerns. The offensive line, Brandon Stevens, Todd Monken. If Brandon Stevens continues to play the way he's playing, we'll be fine. If the offensive line can hold up in the playoffs, we'll be fine. If Todd Monken can just stick to this winning formula, 25 carries for Derrick Henry, 20 to 25 passing attempts for Lamar Jackson, the rest carries for Justice Hill and Keaton Mitchell. If we stick to that formula, I promise you, we can win this thing. Especially with the way the defense is turned around and the discipline we're seeing because they're not committing that much penalties. If the Ravens play the way they've been playing the last 3 games, I promise you, they can get to the dance and they can win this whole tournament. But it comes down to them playing the way they're playing these last few weeks. So it's up to them. The formula to win is there. The formula is there for them to follow. The formula to win is right there. And if Baltimore follows it, they'll find themselves in New Orleans. And they'll have a chance to go win this whole thing. But it's up to them. Anyway, yeah, Ravens dominated the Texans. Just giving out some stats here for the most part. Let me go see. Because I think I took off some of these. Let's see. In this game, C.J. Stroud was 17 of 31, 185, no touchdowns, an interception, QBR of 13, good lord. Passer rating of 59. Lamar, 10 of 15, 168 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, passer rating of 143.9, QBR of 99.8. Damn, that's great. Derrick Henry, 27 carries, 147 yards, and a touchdown. Lamar also had 4 carries this game, 87 yards, and a touchdown. He had that 48-yard touchdown run. Keaton Mitchell got in there, 11 carries, 20 yards. They'll try to give him some carries here and there. In the receiving game, Mark Andrews had 2 catches, 68 yards, and a touchdown. Flowers, 2 for 31. Keaton Mitchell had that 1 on a screen for 28. Derrick Henry had 2 for a couple screens for 18. Rashad Bateman had 1 for 12. Isaiah Likely had 1 catch for 9 yards, and that was a 9-yard touchdown. Didn't really need to throw the ball a lot in this game because Derrick Henry was destroying the front 7 of the Houston Texans, but there was moments where we did make some plays here in the passing game, and yeah, we got the formula. Lamar passing, if Lamar in the playoff game throws for 15 times, If he throws 15 times in the playoff game, I know we're blowing that team out. If Lamar has 15 passing attempts in a playoff game, that means we've blown those dudes out. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Ravens get the win, and they take sole possession of the AFC North. They're 11-5. Pittsburgh's 10-6. One more game left to go against the Cleveland Browns. If they beat Cleveland next week, they will go to 12-5 on the season. They'll finish with the AFC North divisional crown, and they will host a playoff game for the first round. So we'll see how Baltimore is going to finish this off. But yeah, that's pretty much it. That is the state of the AFC North address for me, ladies and gentlemen. Cleveland's already out of it. Cincinnati stays alive in the playoff race. Pittsburgh suffers 3 straight losses in 12 days and have fallen to second place in the AFC North. And Baltimore goes 3-0 in 12 straight days and takes first place in the AFC North. So that is all I have for you guys here. I'm going to take a look at the comments you got here, and I'm going to head on out. So I'm actually going to do what I do nowadays. I've actually been using my phone recently to take a look at some of these things, because I just feel like that's a much more efficient aspect in terms of what I want to do. So I'm going to take a look at some of these comments here. Got my phone out. Let me take this off for a second. So take a look at these comments. What's going on, Daniel? Loyal to Houston. Appreciate you stopping by. Congrats on the Christmas dub, bro. Appreciate it, man. Hopefully you guys can get some sort of momentum heading into the playoffs, because you guys need it. Thanks to the Chiefs, Ravens take control, and we win the AFC. Chiefs beating the Steelers gives the Ravens a chance to win their division now. Hope you had a great Christmas. I did. Super Bowl bound? Not yet. I'm Super Bowl bound for who? Not us. At least, not yet. I'm not going to give you that title until you show me what you can do. Now, again, I've always said we have to talk about the Super Bowl bound aspect at the end of the season. Let Baltimore finish this off. You go 12-5, win the division, I'll give you the title of Super Bowl bound, but it's not going to mean it. No, I'm not Super Bowl bound. Super Bowl contender. I'll give you that title, but Super Bowl bound only applies to Kansas City. Kansas City Super Bowl bound. Baltimore, you finish this off, go 12-5, win the division, you'll be a Super Bowl contender because you've played the way you've played. Lamar and Derrick Henry had the seasons they had, so Super Bowl contender, but Super Bowl bound's a bit different. That's Kansas City. When is the last time the Browns developed a quarterback and that quarterback became great? Never. Steelers' defense is in shambles right now. They got to get it together. They're playing so poorly. The road goes through Kansas City, as expected. So you got to go back to Arrowhead. All I'm going to say is if we get back to Arrowhead, man, everybody's going to be focusing in on Lamar and Derrick Henry, but the number 3 guy that's going to have an emphasis in Kansas City, Isaiah Likely. Kansas City did not forget what he said. That man was heated after that game and said, if this is the best they're playing, good luck in the playoffs. Yeah, so if you see them in the AFC title game, Isaiah Likely, you better ball out, bro. If you get to the AFC title game and it's against Kansas City, you got to ball out Isaiah Likely. If they cook you, oh boy, it's going to look bad. One more win, Ravens get the division. Yes, they do. Yep, they're in the driver's seat. Steelers lost that seat. Absolutely. Lamar and Henry are Jokic and Murray. That's not exactly what I'm pointing to, but it is an interesting aspect to throw in there. But that's not the duo I'm thinking of. Steelers have to win the next game or take a chance to be the 7th seed going into Buffalo. They don't want that to happen. Looks like Steelers versus Texans battle of 2 overhyped teams. Maybe, but Pittsburgh can easily lose the 5th seed if they lose next week against the Bengals. Stroud missed a ton of throws badly last night. He's been missing throws all season. Offense is going to get them eliminated, one and done. Most likely for the Texans. The offense has been playing so poor. Mixon was yapping to us pregame and conveniently got clobbered by Darius Washington during that goal-line stand and completely changed the complexion of that game. That is true. That is what happened. Offensive coordinator of the Texans, big trash. Yeah, they're going to get rid of him after this year. Kind of feel bad for any team that hires Slowick as their next offensive coordinator or head coach. Yeah, that's how it happens when you play poorly. When you are coached poorly as an offensive coordinator. When your play calling's terrible, you lose your job. It's funny because if Lamar performed like CJ, the media would kill him every day. Yeah, we don't need to compare Lamar Jackson to CJ Stroud. Lamar is a member of the Big Four and CJ's in year 2. We don't need to make those comparisons. Stroud been kind of boofed this year. He's had a lot of bad moments, man. Had a lot of bad moments. Jordan is playing lit. Jordan Love. Yeah, Jordan Love's actually having a great. Yeah, he's having a great season. I don't think it's the best of seasons, but he's having a great season. You know, it's one of those years where he at least continued the level of play from what we saw last year. Trust me, he had moments where he looked like trash. I mean, when you're having the Brett Favre type games, when you're throwing multiple interceptions, it's not good. And I think there's some aspects of Jordan Love that we still need to see him improve on, cut the turnovers down. But still, he's had a pretty good season overall. Eagles saw how Jaden is built different. Yeah, he's definitely built different. So I believe he's going to be able to come back year 2 and take it to another level. Hopefully. But again, I can't crown him until he does that. Comes back next year, takes it to another level, he gets crowned. No question. Herbert also has no weapons. Yeah, Justin Herbert doesn't have any weapons to really work with, and he's still doing what he's doing. Joe Burrow would clear Josh Allen and MVP tops if he had a defensive bag. Listen, if Joe Burrow makes the playoffs, I don't see why he doesn't win the MVP trophy. I can see all the voters saying, you know what, this war between Lamar and Josh Allen, we want nothing to do with it. Joe Burrow just made the playoffs, and he's got those monster numbers. I'm going to give it to Joe Burrow. If he makes the playoffs, he's getting the MVP, in my opinion. Actually, it's probably going to go between Lamar and Allen. They've been promoting that all year. But I feel like Joe Burrow would deserve to be the MVP. Only way JD would be elite year 1 is if he wins a Super Bowl and Super Bowl MVP. That would put him in the status, but that ain't happening. That ain't happening. We don't have the defense for that yet. Okay, it's year 1 with Washington. We knew this would be the case. Jaden Daniels is going to ball out in the playoffs no matter who he faces, but that defense is going to let him down. Like I said, in the offseason, in the draft, invest in the defense, probably add another weapon to the offense for Jaden Daniels, tweak the offensive line, and then next year they're going to be a juggernaut team. Baltimore has a chance to go on a big run? Absolutely. The surprising one will be if they beat the Chiefs in Arrowhead. Absolutely. It'd be shocking to people if that happens. Defense has been crazy good, and Henry's been crazy good. Everybody's clicking at the right time. Even Justin Tucker came back. He's clicking on the right time. He hasn't missed a single kick since we've come out of the bye week. 25 carries for Derrick Henry is a win. That's the formula to win in the playoffs. Hopefully Tucker kicks his field goals. He's been perfect since he's been back. JD versus Jackson Super Bowl. I would love for it to be the case, but I don't know about that. I don't know if that's going to happen. That would be my dream, but I don't know if it's going to happen. The number one concern for me is another John Harbaugh implosion. Rather, that's in the form of bad clock management, horrible challenges, or lack of adjustment based on game flow. I'm not going to lie, come playoff time, I'm going to need the defense. I'm going to need not even the defense, but I'm going to need the leaders. Your offense and defensive leaders, step up, man. The veterans on this roster that is trying to go win a bowl. The guys that are on a Hall of Fame pace. Lamar Jackson on a Hall of Fame pace, already going to be a Hall of Famer. Derrick Henry, already going to be a Hall of Famer. Roquan Smith is technically on a Hall of Fame pace. He's having another Pro Bowl season, near all-pro season for him. Kyle Hamilton, early on, is on a Hall of Fame pace. Marlon Humphrey, on somewhat of a Hall of Fame pace. Not saying they're going to be Hall of Famers, but you can argue with how they produced in their career. You could look that they're in that Hall of Fame place. Not to mention, they're the veterans. They're the somewhat veterans on this team. So you got to look at your best play. They're the veterans. They're the star players. I got to look to the players and say, you got to set the tone. I don't care what coaching is doing. The players are the ones that are on the field. Set the tone. If Harbaugh wants to go out there and make some bad decisions, you guys got to go out there and execute. You got to be... If anything bad goes wrong, get the team together on the sideline. Got to show that leadership. Let's stay locked in. Let's stay focused. Don't let these mistakes define us. Let's go out there on the next drive and get it done. Let's go out there on defense and make a stop. I'm going to look at my leadership to keep us together because that's what got us 2 rings. Leadership got us 2 rings. Never forget that. Leadership got us 2 rings. Not coaching. Leadership got us those 2 Super Bowls. Do you think Harbaugh's finally letting the players play? I'm not a Harbaugh fan, but these past 3 weeks they've cleaned up the penalties and he hasn't done anything boneheaded. I will give credit to John Harbaugh. He's done a great job these last 3 weeks. Penalties down, defense playing better, making stops, offense looking more consistent and actually playing with an identity. Look at how they ran the ball the last 3 games. They actually have an identity. So, yeah, if they just stick to this, we'll be happy and they will have a chance to go win the whole thing. But, you know, it just involves Harbaugh just continuing to get out the way and let these players play. Please sell the Bears now that the worst Thursday night primetime game, especially being the last one. The Bears aren't going nowhere. Feel sorry for the Niners Monday. Yeah, they're already eliminated. They don't really care. The Lions team holds a lot of grudges against certain teams. Oh boy, Monday Night Football is going to be nice for the Niners. Listen, people, we are going to choke again because we have John Harbaugh. If it happens, it happens. I mean, we can't control anything like that. I would hope the Ravens players that want to win a Super Bowl can come in here and overcome that. It's up to them. Like I said, these two guys, they already know. These two guys here are going to the Hall of Fame. They're future Hall of Famers that are playing as teammates. Neither one of them has a ring. Now, both of these guys have taken their team to an AFC Championship game, but they both lost to the same guy in the same team, Mahomes to the Chiefs. These two guys are heading into the Hall, but they want to head into the Hall of Fame with a championship. And with the season these guys had, a season that this duo has had, monster numbers. This is the second best statistical season for Derrick Henry. And you can argue because of who he's playing next to, it could be his best. And Lamar Jackson's having the best season of his career. These guys have put up monster numbers. They're future Hall of Famers. They don't want to go into the Hall with 0 championships. So, the pressure's on these two. But I love the fact that the pressure is on these two. This is why I'm so excited to see what Lamar does in the playoffs. This is the first year of his career where he's going to head into the postseason, and it's not all on him. The media's not going to say, the media's going to focus on Lamar Jackson, but they know he has Derrick Henry. Dude, you are that guy. You've been carrying, but now you have a partner in the playoffs. You don't need to have all the pressure on you. You don't need to go out there and be Superman. Look at the guy next to you. You guys are going into the Hall together. Well, Derrick Henry's going to be, in the Hall sooner than Lamar because Derrick Henry ain't going to play that much longer than Lamar. But, you guys are going into the Hall together. You're going into the Hall. Trust that guy next to you, Lamar. Go be you. Go have fun. But understand, all the pressure's not on you because you have this guy next to you. He can help you win. Let him go be him and you do you. If that happens, they can get a ring together. That's why we brought him here. That's why we wanted him last year. And I still will stick to the fact that, I will still stick to the belief that if Derrick Henry would have been traded to the Ravens last year, we would have won the Super Bowl. Because they would not have given Derrick Henry 3 carries in the AFC title game. No way in hell that would have happened. So again, Lamar, all the pressure's not on you. You've got a guy. Trust in this guy to help you alongside this journey. And you guys can get to New Orleans and win this whole thing. So that's why I'm so excited. I'll talk about it probably in the video later on. I'm excited to see what Lamar Jackson does in this playoffs because this is going to be the first postseason he walks into where it's not all on him. He doesn't have to be Superman. He doesn't have to do everything on his own. He's got Derrick Henry right next to him. Trust in Derrick Henry and go win this thing. I'm with you on that one, Real. Hopefully Harbaugh just stays out of the way and allows the dogs to eat. We'll hope. We'll hope. I like the Steelers. I can tell you are a Steelers fan. Again, the Steelers have always had the defense to compete. I don't think your offense is good enough to win the postseason. I think that's what's holding you guys back. Who's my comparison to the duo? I'm going to hold off on that. I'm not going to say it out loud. I'm going to hold off on that. They got to go win to earn that title. But I'm going to hold off on that. What about TJ Watt and Cam Hamwood? I mean, your defense has been elite. Those guys are the reason why you win football games. Those guys were the reason why you were 10-3 in the first place. But your offense is just not good enough to get it done. The Steelers are good enough to compete defensively, but your offense is not good enough to go win in Buffalo. Your offense is not good enough to go win in Kansas City. And judging by where you at status-wise, you're going to be handed to Kansas City in the second round if you win in the first round. You beat Houston, you're going to Kansas City for the second round. You're not good enough to beat the Chiefs. It's unfortunate, but it's true. Crazy thing was Nick on Next Take was saying last year at the season that CJ is better than Lamar. Yeah, I mean, Nick, first of all, I don't listen to Nick Wright for anything related to Ravens or his takes. It's a biased guy. He's a biased Chiefs fan that's going to push his agenda and propaganda because the Chiefs are a dynasty. So I don't care what Nick Wright has to say. Secondly, his statement about CJ being better than Lamar, all of his takes about Lamar just panders towards the postseason. He's already said he doesn't care what Lamar does in the regular season. That's why he's called him Aaron Judge. You can have historical regular seasons. What you do in the postseason is where I'm going to define you. So the reason he had CJ above Lamar is because he said Lamar, his worst games are always the playoffs. So until Lamar gets rid of that narrative, he's not going to give him his flowers. It doesn't matter who he puts in. It doesn't matter what Lamar does. He'll put multiple quarterbacks in front of him. I guarantee you, he'll put. If Bo Nix wins a playoff game, he'll put Bo Nix above Lamar Jackson because that's just how it is. Until Lamar wins the playoffs, that's just how it's going to be. It is what it is. It is what it is, man. 8-34. I ain't saying nothing. I ain't saying nothing about nothing. I ain't saying nothing about nothing. You gotta go win to earn that title, young man. You gotta go win to earn that title. Those two won the title. Gotta go win to earn said title. I ain't gonna say nothing about nothing, but you gotta go win to earn that title. If they win, oh yeah, I'm posting that video. I got that in the gulag. I am posting that video. It's kind of funny. Can you guys talk a bunch of nonsense? Because we all know what's going to happen come playoff time. I guess. I don't know. My Texans might just be frauds. There's a lot of stuff that's happened to the Texans this year. It is what it is, man. I can't really say much about that. It's unfortunate, but this is just how things are for you, man. Just got to deal with it. At the end of the day, you just got to deal with it. Hopefully you win your final game of the season to try to take some momentum to the playoffs. Hopefully, you'll host a playoff game. Maybe it'll be enough to give you a shot, and then you just go from there. But there's not much to really say. The Texans are reeling right now. Injuries have really taken things away from them. Nick Wright also hates on Jaden Daniels. I'm sensing a pattern. He hates on Jaden Daniels because he said Caleb Williams would be a better quarterback. So there's any bias towards Jaden Daniels comes from a bias of having Caleb be his guy. So yeah. Ravens are the frauds. Come on now, people. With the Bengals are going to Super Bowl. I get you doing the whole trash thing. I'm not getting involved in that. You're free to do whatever you want to do with that. Yeah, that's pretty much it for me, guys. Pretty much read all the comments. I'm going to end it here. I will end the stream here. Another stream that went 90 minutes. Did not expect to go 90 minutes. But I did have to do the state of the AFC North address. Get this out here. Baltimore takes control of the AFC North. They stand first place in that division. Pittsburgh second. Cincinnati's third, fighting for their playoff lives. And, of course, the Browns are at the fourth. So we'll see what happens come Sunday with the Bengals and the Broncos. And then Week 18. Baltimore and Cleveland for the division. Pittsburgh and Cincinnati for the division. We'll see what happens. But with that being said, I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your night. I hope you guys have enjoyed Christmas. This has been fantastic. Baltimore going 3-0 in 12 days is fantastic for me. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed your day. I hope you guys enjoying the holidays. Merry Christmas, happy holidays to all. Happy Kwanzaa, whatever you want to pull out there. That's pretty much it from me. I'm going to end it here. Thank you so much for tuning into the stream, and I will see you guys later. Be sure to stay safe, and peace out.